This movie is going to cover how to install an exposed aggregate walkway slash patio. And what you're looking at are the forms. Now, as you saw in that first picture, this patio or front walkway is going to end up having stone banding on the side. So what you're looking at is there's a form inside of a form. And the outside forms sit 2 inches below the inside forms, providing a shelf that will eventually house the stone that you saw. These are expansion joints. This allows the concrete to expand and contract and slide, and you'll show you that later, but it allows the different pieces to move separate of one another. And this is the form setup with the rebar and the compacted Class 2 aggregate base. We use 4 inches of Class 2 aggregate base under our concrete. We've also installed 4 piers about 24 inches deep in this because of this mild slope, just to make sure we don't have any slippage on the concrete slab for this driveway. It's just an insurance policy. It's probably not that necessary, but this is my driveway, and I wanted to make sure that we weren't gonna have any movement. So these give us a little extra traction for the slab. So this is right before the pour. You'll see 2-inch concrete dobies holding the rebar up. You see how it's suspended? You can see the shadows under there, and those are concrete dobies. We put those about 3 feet apart to make sure that the rebar stays suspended evenly inside the middle of the 4-inch slab. Now this is the day of the pour, and what you see here is the concrete's been poured into the forms, and now if you'll see the guy in the background there, he's seeding the aggregate. So he's taking 1/4-inch aggregate or pebbles and covering the entire area with the pebbles really thick. And then you see a guy there, I believe that's a bull float, but that's a float where he's going over the top of the concrete to lightly push the pebbles below the surface of the wet concrete. And here you can see a guy in the foreground using a hand trowel to do the same thing and detail the edges. So he's wanting to get those pebbles just below the surface. Here's the bull float again. They're trying to get those pebbles just below the surface and no more than that, so that the concrete grips them and holds them well. But that way they'll be able to expose them later and take that thin layer of cement off the top and expose the pebbles. So here you can see a good shot of how thick they put down the pebbles, and then you can see him working those pebbles just below the surface with the hand trowel and the bull float. Okay. You can see him detailing those. So again, it's a real finesse thing. If you drop these pebbles too deep into the mud, what happens is you can't expose them. This is the dried concrete, and they need to let it set up to a certain degree so that when they start to wash the concrete, they don't overwash it. It's a very fine line between washing too much and leaving the pebbles sitting up high, and when you do that you get what they call blowouts, and the aggregate will release, and then now you have holes in where the concrete is showing without the pebbles. Now they're doing the exposing of the aggregate, or the washing. So they're using water, and they're using a light broom, and they're doing it very lightly just to release that film of cement or butter off the top there, the cream, sorry. Now then you see them with the smaller broom, and they'll go in and they'll release some of the tight point, the parts. See him here with smaller brushes, he's working the joints there with that one, and here with this smaller brush, he's just releasing some of the areas that don't want to let go as easily. This is a really finesse thing right here, because if you overdo it, you pop those pebbles out and there's no good way to put them back in. And here you are with the finished product. See how the pebbles show nicely? There's a nice exposing of the aggregate, but they're still well buried. Here's the finished product. This has Connecticut bluestone framing the aggregate. And there's the aggregate that's been in for about a year now. Here's the walkway on a rainy day when I did this photo. Here's the entire driveway. So you can see how I used some stone on the borders and inlaid, and then around the perimeters there just to break that up. And there's a couple more shots of that. And that is exposed aggregate with flagstone details.